I have bought and sold a million cameras. We all know that. That's obvious if you follow this channel for any length of time. But one thing I've always struggled with in purchasing and selling and buying cameras has been this one feature right here, the flippy screen. The flippy screen to me has been one of those things that I think a lot of people praise and they like because candidly you're able to do this. You're able to film yourself like this. But there's really good cameras that don't have a flippy screen that I would like to use, and I've chosen to not purchase them or sell them at some point because I can't see myself while recording video. And I've always been reluctant to do anything add-on to fix that problem because of the additional bulk. But as this whole thing has progressed, most of the time I'm making these videos in this office right here. And if I'm going to be out doing anything, if I'm recording videos for you guys, it's going to be on like a GoPro or an iPhone or something like that, where the pictures are by the camera and then the content is, on something more portable as it is anyways. A lot of times I got to take pictures with this camera, and so I'm not taking pictures and then flipping it around and then doing all this anyways. And for photos, I think most would agree that something like the Fujifilm X-T5 or whatever has probably the better photography option where the screen flips up and it can tilt at the side. And sometimes this can just be annoying for photography. So I have constantly purchased cameras that are probably great photo cameras that I really liked, but sold them because ultimately it didn't have a flippy screen. I reviewed just not too long ago, or made a recommendation, that the Nikon Z5 is a good sub $1,000 option that does not have a flippy screen. That was my one caveat. I had the Leica SL2S. I like that camera a lot, but it had poor autofocus, and because it had poor autofocus and no flippy screen, I couldn't see myself, and so I got rid of that camera as well. There's been point and shoots that don't have flippy screens that could work that I've gotten rid of because I couldn't see myself for recording. And I think in hindsight, I made a mistake from the respect that should not be the only dictating feature on the camera. I think that should come, I don't know, last or down the path now, because what I like for photos doesn't always necessarily work for video. And if you have a great photo camera with a screen that's more fixed or it only flips up versus out, you shouldn't ignore that camera. And so I finally took the plunge, and I'm actually using it right now, and I purchased a monitor, a cheaper one. And I think now that I'm using this for these like in-office, in-studio setups, that probably should have been the way to go all along. Let me take this monitor off this camera and I'll show you what I've got. This right here is just a cheap little Feel World monitor. I don't even know the model number of this. I'll put it in the description below where you can purchase it or whatever if you don't want to, but I think this has been the way to go all along. It wasn't very expensive. I think it's around $100. And I've chosen cameras, like I said, around the fact that it doesn't have a flip screen. But this actually seems to work better. And this is a pretty good value for the money. It comes in this little case, which you guys maybe care or don't care about, but it should be known because it protects it in your bag if you bring it for anything outside of the studio. But this comes with everything you need. It has the HDMI cable. It has this little bracket right here to put into your hot shoe. It has a battery that comes along with it. I think this is a Sony battery. I think it takes Sony and Canon batteries, but it comes with a battery as well. So you don't have to be connected to power. And it's rechargeable. If you look, if I get this to focus right here, there's a charging cable input right there, so you can charge the battery that way. It's USB-C. And it's just been really interesting. I've been using this a little bit. I think this has been something really helpful. Now, this does a lot of different monitoring things that I don't know much about. I'm not like checking vector forms, waves. I don't even know if this does that. I don't care. I just use this for a larger monitor. But it's been really simple to use. You just plug it into your camera and you put it on top and you use it. And it's just made life a lot easier for me. And I can actually see myself in the exposure a lot better. The camera I'm on right now is showing me a certain image. And I found that sometimes the monitor or the screen on the back of my camera isn't as accurate as maybe this is. And so I've been getting a little bit better exposure and stuff like that using the monitor. And you know, it can go, it can be used for a lot more than I'm using it for. You can plug it into DC power. If you see there's DC power right there. You can upgrade it via USB. What else can this do? It's a whole bunch of crap. I don't even know what this can do, but I've been choosing cameras. Let me see, I'm just kidding. This is DC in and DC out. See, I don't even know what I'm talking about. But the cool thing is like it has an HDMI in, obviously, which is how I use it from the camera into this, and it has an HDMI out too, and I would assume that maybe you can feed something else from this monitor. Again, I'm not using it to its fullest abilities, but my point is this. If you're buying and selling cameras or choosing your camera solely on the feature that it has a flip screen, and you know that you're not going to use it for photography reasons, in fact, you prefer not to have a flip screen for photography, and you just maybe want it for video, I would highly recommend you go and get something like this monitor. This Field World monitor is an example. They have other ones out there. And do something like this instead of trying to pick a camera for that one feature, maybe skipping a camera you like a lot better. This adds a lot of functionality too as well. It makes it a lot easier. Like I said, it's got the headphone jack right there in the bottom as well. If you guys can see that. I found this to be a convenience in the studio more so than trying to do everything off this flip screen that I'm looking at right now, because this camera, of course, has a flip screen. And I think I wish I would have rather just kept some of the prior cameras I had if I just had this to use at home and taken the approach that I'm taking now, which is using a GoPro or an iPhone out walking around. This is more for people that are creating content on YouTube and are making camera decisions based off of that. It just makes things convenient. I guess I go through some more features. Like you see right here, it has a hot shoe as well, or cold shoe, I should say. So if this is sitting on top of your camera like such, right, you might say, well, it's taking up the hot shoe on top of the camera. But you have a cold shoe there on the side. Let me put this on top here if you guys can see it. So if you have this on top just like this, you can just plug your mic or whatever it is into the cold shoe on the side of the bracket right here. Plug in your headphones if you're into like being behind the camera, monitoring things. And there's just a lot more features and stuff that come along with this and make it a lot easier. For the simplicity of just screwing this into or mounting this into your hot shoe and plugging it into the side of your camera, I would recommend anybody to just think about that flip screen feature that gets praised so much on YouTube, because there's oftentimes a better solution for in-studio stuff anyways. Now, obviously this is not something you would necessarily want to do if you're out walking around. This could be very inconvenient if you're a solo content creator, if that's what we call people these days. But I see the flippy screen getting praised all the time, and I'll be honest, I was on that same bandwagon. But now I'm having second thoughts about that whole approach, and I really think you should pick the camera if it's your photography and your video camera that maybe has all other features and functionality and ergonomics that you like. If it just doesn't happen to have a flippy screen, just supplement it with this. I think this is the better way to go, candidly. So I just wanted to make a quick video. I've been choosing cameras on the flip screen, and I think in hindsight that's probably not the wisest decision for you guys, for me, candidly. So keep that in mind. And for $100, this comes with the battery, the monitor, the USB cable, HDMI cable. The only turn down or drawback was the HDMI cable that it gives you right there is like, they call it mini HDMI, I think. So if you want HDMI to full HDMI, like if you have an XH2 or XH2S or something that takes full HDMI, you're gonna have to get another cable. So this package doesn't come with that. But otherwise, this is a really good, inexpensive way to take a non-flippy screen video camera and use it to see yourself and make sure the color and the framing and all that stuff is right. So yeah, just a quick public service announcement. Kind of regret selling some prior cameras that I had based on this one thing alone, because I realized, I always want the perfect camera. It doesn't exist. We all know that. And so I think you should just find ways around the feature maybe that's missing. And if flip screen is the one, this is the way to go. Okay, just a quick video. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one.